Correct. All right, let's push it along on the program this afternoon as we go into the United States presidential elections. Well, Joe Biden set to become the 46th United States president. The 77-year-old will become America's oldest president when he's inaugurated next year. Joe Biden is now the president-elect, just in case you don't know already. And of course, Kamala Harris is the vice president-elect of the United States of America. Now, Democratic candidate Joe Biden is projected as winner of the United States presidential election by CNN, NBC, the BBC, and Associated Press. The former vice president defeated incumbent President Donald Trump, who has called the integrity of the election into question. Biden's victory was projected on Saturday, the 7th of November this year, after crossing over the required 270 electoral votes with a dramatic win in Pennsylvania. In reaction to the projected victory, Biden said in a short statement he's honored to have been elected to lead the country. Let's take a minute. Let's go listen to Joe Biden's speech. We'll be right back.
There's no way out. To all those of you who volunteered and worked the polls in the middle of this pandemic, local elected officials, you deserve a special thanks from the entire nation. And to my campaign team and all the volunteers and all who gave so much of themselves to make this moment possible, I owe you. I owe you everything. And to all those who supported us, I'm proud of the campaign we built and ran. I'm proud of the coalition we put together, the broadest and most diverse coalition in history. Democrats, Republicans, independents, progressives, moderates, conservatives, young, old, urban, suburban, rural, gay, straight, transgender, white, Latino, Asian, Native American. I mean it, especially those moments, and especially those moments where this campaign was at its lowest ebb. The African-American community stood up again for me. You always had my back, and I'll have yours. I said at the outset, I wanted to represent this campaign to represent and look like America. We've done that. Now that's what I want the administration to look like and act like. For all those of you who voted for President Trump, I understand the disappointment tonight.
President-elect Joe Biden there delivering his first speech. Anyways, President Donald Trump has insisted that he won the 2020 presidential election in the United States of America. The U.S. president shared a series of tweets on Saturday, the 7th of November, in which he made unsubstantiated allegations of illegality in the voting process, all of which were labeled as disputed and potentially misleading by Twitter. He also insisted he had won the elections by a lot. Well, sources in the White House have disclosed that the president said he will not be accepting the election result. They also disclosed he will be challenging the election result in court from Monday, the 9th of November. That is from today. Actually, so Trump is heading to the Supreme Court. So, gentlemen, let me hear your reactions, first of all, on Joe Biden's victory and also what's going on with Trump and the election.
I thought the Biden-Harris ticket was a very weak one. And I didn't want Trump to win, but I thought he would win. Because for one thing, Biden is relatively old by American standards. Yeah. And he lacked the ebullience and flamboyance of most successful American politicians. I think he had it, but they were eroded over the years by age. And then secondly, a man that doesn't appear that very healthy, a man that lacks the spunk, the energy, has a female and black presidential candidate. So I thought it was very weak. But the thing with Trump is that Trump came in, as one writer said, norm-busting. That is, he didn't go by the norm. He was somebody that busted the norm. Norm-busting outsider. People got tired of the Washington, D.C. establishment.
The regular.
Clinton, George Bush, Obama, Mrs. Clinton. They wanted an outsider. So that's why people voted for Trump. But Trump came in not behaving presidential in any way. He was an outsider, quite all right. But once you're in power, you have to be a president, a unifying figure. You have to talk not as recklessly as he did. Americans are very sensitive to race issues. But to him, he was stoking the race tension. He exploited the race problem. He denigrated blacks and exalted.
But sorry to butt in, but that side of him, was it hidden though? Because even during campaign and everything, you know, he always showed that side of it. So I don't think Americans should have been surprised by that.
Then he appealed to the extreme conservative whites and the blue workers who felt that China was taking undue advantage of America economically, that jobs were going overseas. So he had a core base, okay, that would have voted for him whether he acted presidential or unpresidential. But then the other...
But then haven't gotten in as a president.
Yeah, but then there were other groups who never felt very comfortable with him, but felt there's need for a change. So these two groups voted. But when he came in, the group that thought there was need for a change, even if it's not that presidential, he lost that group. He retained the core group, redneck, anti-black, isolationist, supremacist group. So, but this other group shifted. That is the group, the supporters who can think. This is un-American. This is unpresidential. This does not help the country. The president is being too aggressive. The president is too divisive. The president is alienating the U.S. from her former allies. So those are the group that voted for Biden, that left Trump to vote for Biden. So interestingly, Biden won, and the election is fair, and American elections are generally credible. So all this talk about fraud is all out of place. But Trump would have made a wonderful third world dictator. The election was going on, and he already claimed victory. he was acting like a spoiled kid. He said, "Continue in the area where I am not winning. Continue to count the votes, but in the areas I am winning, stop counting the vote." Okay, so that's that kind of erratic behavior, that kind of unpresidential behavior turned many Americans off, and they needed an alternative. That's what happened.
Okay, let me hear from Chief Ofose.
What do you want to hear?
Yeah, I want to hear your view on Biden's victory.
Biden's victory, for me, I think Biden's victory is a fresh air for the Americans. You like Mr. Ozukama said, he lost the elections basically on the fact that he says some of the unspeakable things American do. It's not as if Americans, even the Biden, do not think about those things, but they don't say them. No, they are typical American. They are typical white. You can't say Biden is not a white man. He's a white man. He knows what he thinks about the black, but his political leanings may not allow him to say it.
So he has to be diplomatic.
He has to be diplomatic.
Okay.
But Trump, in his typical self, you understand, will continually say that. You know, somebody wrote that they thought that when they voted him in that presidency, that the White House would change him. But he didn't. He actually changed the White House in a way. You understand? So, but when you look at some of this, and this is not the first time the American has had trouble in their elections. If you remember, 2002, during Al Gore and George Bush, you saw what happened, and the election was about Florida. The same thing that is happening now. It has never been a JoJo for Americans in a way. Anyway, like you said that there is any unsubstantiated fact is allegation. So there is no allegation that has not been substantiated. You understand? So he has made some allegations. He said that some dead people voted. And maybe they have to go and check because I have to take time to read about mail-in ballot process in America this morning, and I found out that it's not just about those who live abroad. It could be you can vote by mail if it's still you are in the US as an absentee voters. You understand? And a lot of things happen again. I think it's another opportunity for Americans to test their election, their process in the Supreme Court. You understand? Look. During the Nigerian election, when Goodluck Jonathan lost and considered defeat and congratulated Buhari in 2015, everybody jubilated. When in 2019, Atiku Abubakar said he want to challenge the case in court. People were saying, follow the path of the JJ. He said, no, let us go to the court and challenge it. And he went to the Supreme Court. The case got to the Supreme Court, and everything was laid open. Do you understand? So that there is a justification tomorrow. If you know that you want to go to Supreme Court for the same issue, you know that there is already a precedent. You cannot go on that. So I believe that if Trump wants to go to Supreme Court, he should go. But he shouldn't resist leaving the White House. He should leave the White House. It's not compulsory. There is no written document that when you are defeated in an election, you must congratulate your opponent. It is just a courtesy. There is no written document that you said you must congratulate the person that defeated you. No. If you refuse, I said I don't want to congratulate Biden. It's within his right to do so. Do you understand? But the party on their own can congratulate if they want to. Don't also forget that this morning the party is the one going to the court, going to the Supreme Court, not even Mr. Trump.
The thing is that it's okay to go to court if you have legitimate reasons to go to court. On the other hand, when you go to court because you are a sore loser, you've lost and you are agitated, you're sore because you lost, whereas it's about the verdict of the people. It's not a personal issue. It's about the people speaking.
Verdict, yeah.
So when you refuse to respect the people's verdict, it tarnishes your image politically, especially in a place like America. They call them sore losers. The issue with mail-in ballots, Trump from day one kept criticizing mail-in ballots. Consequently, many of his supporters did not use mail-in ballots.
Mail-in ballots, yeah.
So it was the Democrats, some of whom were concerned about the COVID-19 pandemic. And the Democrats, more than the Republicans, used mail-in ballots. And the mail-in ballots are harder to process. So the first result was, in places like Pennsylvania, for example, the first result reflected the voting of those that voted, but the mail-in ballot had to come later, and they were mostly Democratic mail-in ballots. So that's why Biden started inching his way up. Secondly, big cities vote Democratic, vote for the Democratic Party. So in Philadelphia, where the vote came later, we are mostly Democratic. So naturally, Biden won Philadelphia. There was no fraud there. There might be fraud in American politics, but it's very.
I don't think we are in a position to say that.
To determine
whether or not.
Another thing that hurt Trump a lot was the COVID pandemic.
We all know.
The facts are evident. The scientists are screaming. They are warning. Trump will get the person who will support him politically. He saw it as a political issue. He ignored the experts and brought those who had no knowledge of virology. I think that's what they call it. So virology. So they were people who were to say what he wanted them to say. He was messing with Biden. Biden, insulting Biden for always wearing a mask. See, everywhere you see me, he has this big mask. Even when he's 200 feet away from others, he has a big mask. What is he doing with the mask? So those are people. He's too much of a clown to be a president, and those are some of the turn-offs. So that's why he lost.
I think too that quite unlike you that you believe that he was going to win. I knew that he have committed, please pardon me to use that word, a lot of sins against the Americans. Okay, the Black Lives Matters was one of the is actually still, okay? The COVID put the final nail in his coffin. You know, at the end of the day, you find out that in terms of economy, you see, at the end of the day, in terms of crisis, in terms of war, you don't talk about the economy. In terms of war, you don't talk about economy. You talk about the things that will make you win that war or bring that war to an end. So that because even if you have so much money in your bank account, you can't enjoy it. You can't enjoy it during pandemic. The stores, the bars, the hotels were all locked down. Do you understand? So nobody talks about the economy in a way. And again, when you look at what happened, that whatever successes you must have achieved through your magic wand on economy has actually been brought down by the COVID.
It's simple.
Do you understand? Has actually been brought down by the COVID. So at the end of the day, I knew from the beginning it was going to be a tough election for him to win. Because there were a lot of things. And again, it wasn't also very, he didn't have a very good relationship with global leaders. Global leaders. He pulled out from WHO, he pulled out from Paris this environmental committee. He pulled out from a lot of the allies that
literally everyone.
Now again, the blacks also felt that the why Okonjo-Iweala his position seems shaky is because Trump does not support, and people believe that this woman is in a good position to win this election and become the first woman and lead. And now everywhere is open for the woman to actually, because at this point the president from now to January that the Biden is coming in is not going to have any time to do any international politics and the rest of it. So he's going to concentrate now that he has not again accepted the defeat.
All right, just in case you don't know already, the United States President Donald Trump has announced he will head to the Supreme Court to contest the conduct of the presidential elections. According to him, this is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win the election. This is a major fraud on our nation. He said to ensure the integrity of the election, he will approach the U.S. Supreme Court to stop all voting. He also said some of his validly won votes in Texas were not included in the tabulation. All right. Anyways, Trump's decision to approach the Supreme Court doesn't come as a shock, as he has over the past months called the integrity of the election into question. He has especially raised alarm about the mail-in ballots, which he has dismissed as a fraud that will be used to rig the election. And of course, well, we don't know what the outcome will be at the Supreme Court, but I dare say this particular elections has been very, very interesting to watch, all the way from when the campaigns were on and all of that. You know, like whether you love him or you hate him, Donald J. Trump is one man the Americans will not forget in a hurry. All right, let's take a listen to Donald Trump for a bit. We'll be back.
But I never joke about it. I mean, I don't think it's necessary for Sleepy Joe to constantly, you know, he walks onto a stage, the people are, number one, there's no people there. And the few people that are there are like, what, 50 yards away? And the mask is always so large, you know, it's like covers the whole thing. I shouldn't joke, because you know what? Running against the worst candidate in the history of presidential politics puts pressure on me. Could you imagine if I lose my whole life? What am I going to do? I'm going to say, I lost to the worst candidate in the history of politics. I'm not going to feel so good. Maybe I'll have to leave the country.
Donald J. Trump there having his say. All right, very quickly, let's take a look at all of the plans President-elect Joe Biden actually has for Americans. According to him, he's going to ensure there are jobs and economic recovery plan for working American families. Also, he's going to give every American affordable health care. Also, He's going to restore American leadership abroad, also ensure the future is made in America. Also, Joe Biden plans to secure the value of the American as a nation of immigrants. And of course, we know that was one thing Trump wasn't totally in support of. Anyways, Joe Biden also plans to support the veterans and support educators and students. Also, he'll tackle the climate emergency, strengthen tribal nations, improve racial economic equity, strengthen the caregiving and educational workforce. Also, he plans for a clean energy future and safely reopen schools, after this pandemic. And also part of his plan is to empower and protect women, people with disabilities, support essential workers, scale up employment insurance, fix the bankruptcy system, and also he has a fantastic plan for Black Americans. Also, he has also promised to strengthen ties with Central America and also empower unions and workers. Now to bring you back home, President Buhari congratulates Biden. President Muhammadu Buhari has sent a congratulatory message to former Vice President Joe Biden, who has been declared president-elect of the United States after trouncing the incumbent President Donald Trump. In a statement released by presidential aide Garba Shehu, the Nigerian president said Biden's win is a significant reminder that democracy is the best form of government. According to him, what is most fascinating about democracy is people's freedom to choose who they want and the supremacy of their will. The president noted that voters can decide the fate of politicians at the polling booth, and they are the most powerful and not the politicians. President Buhari also expressed optimism that Biden will add value to the presidency and world affairs as an experienced politician who has served in various capacities for many years. Buhari said Nigeria is looking forward to better cooperation between both countries, especially at economic, diplomatic, and political levels, including the war against terrorism. All right, gentlemen, very quickly. Last week, Friday, on the show, we were talking a bit about the U.S. elections and all of that. And some of my guests actually, expressed the opinion that it doesn't matter whether it's a Trump or a Biden, in the White House, it does not concern Nigeria. Now, that statement is not totally true. We all know that. So let's talk about the implication, really, of this Biden's victory, especially to a country such as Nigeria.
Well, we still have to carry our cross in Nigeria. We have to solve our problems. No country outside of Nigeria, or no one man outside of Nigeria, can solve our problems for us. But then the differences between the Democrats and the Americans in foreign policy are obvious. And for a very conservative, racist Republican like Trump, of course, things will ease off a little as far as immigration is concerned. For one thing, that building of wall might not continue, and separation of children from their parents, which to Americans must have been abhorrent. It was outrageous, because the American law respects children and women a lot. So to separate children from their parents in the name of curbing immigration, that must have offended the sensibility of so many Americans. So things like that will stop. There are many Americans, I think they call them dreamers. They were brought to America as children, but they grew up in America. So technically they're Americans. Culturally, they went to American high school, talk American, act American. Obama had given them some kind of legal reprieve to remain in the US. Trump canceled it. They were not born in America, so technically they're not Americans, but they came as children. But I think such things, such people will be accommodated. Many illegal aliens from Nigeria in the US will get better consideration. That's one aspect. The rest, there might be more liberal economic policy, political policy towards Africa. But apart from that, I don't see much happening. We have to resolve our problems.
I don't know where Patience got the impression that that statement that those gentlemen made were not totally true.
Not totally true.
They are very true. Absolutely. Let me tell you. Absolutely true. It was in the Obama was a Democrat and is still a Democrat. He was a president when we had a terrible issue of Boko Haram. America never helped Nigerians. They never helped this country. They never allowed us to purchase arms. They never gave us the intelligence. They abandoned this country. And I have never seen, in my 45 years on this earth, I have never seen any American president that has overtly bettered the life of this country. It has never happened. For me, I've always believed that the issue of immigration is as a result of the fact that Americans have made their country great. If this country, we have all the things, everybody says that Nigeria has all the things to make this country great. Of course. If we do make this country great, we will stand shoulder to shoulder to America. The Chinese do not have immigration problem in America. They don't. Because they have built their country. They made their country great.
The South Africans don't.
The South Africans are not migrating to the US. It is because the leaders of our country have deliberately refused to make this country great. And that's why we are talking about America. Tell me one thing, since Bush time that we have benefited. Mazi has been in the US. He knows about it. All the things that he has highlighted now is about those who live in the US. It's about the blacks, the colored people in the US that Obama did for. Obama he came during Obama 8 years. He went to Ghana. He didn't come to this country. He refused to put his leg in this country. And I don't think that Biden will do that. And again, let me come back to all the things that Biden has said he will do. And I'm telling you for a fact, Biden does not have more than 4 years. Because by the time he's finishing his 4 years, he's 82.
82, yeah.
Do you understand? He's 82. American will ask him to go and rest. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, I would think that Biden will focus on ensuring that the numbers of people contracting the virus in America reduce, and there is vaccine, okay, that may, because at the end of the day, if you name all of these things and the COVID continue to rage, all right, it's not going to come. You are not going to do all of it. You cannot open schools. You cannot do all of those things that you are saying. So I just want him to limit himself to the area first. He will be able to bring back the American glory, because Trump actually, tore that to pieces in terms of the respect that people have for Americans. You understand? You tweet, you don't, as Trump is now, you don't know the White House tweets, you don't know the Trump tweet. Trump is the White House is the Trump. So it makes it look like that, because you can be the president, but the government can issue a statement that does not align with you. If everything happens like this in our country, Nigerian government can issue a statement that you cannot attribute it to Mr. President, because the government is made up of the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature.
But you made a point that they didn't help us during the fight against Boko Haram while Obama was in office. The Americans came because the Americans understood that Boko Haram is a part of the global global Islamic-inspired terrorism. But when they came, the Nigerian leaders did not want their involvement. They had issues with the generals, okay, because if Americans get involved, there will be accountability. And our generals and our ministers and the powers that be under Goodluck Jonathan did not want the accountability.
What still happens today?
So I don't know.
What happened today?
I don't know everything, so I don't know what is happening today. I'm talking about what I know. So that's why Obama left. And because of the abuse, of human rights abuses by the Nigerian soldiers, Americans have their standards for supplying new arms. The Nigerian military did not meet those standards. So it wasn't in any way anti-Nigerian. It was just Nigerians' inability, the leadership of Nigerian inability to be accountable. Secondly, and for the soldiers to live up to certain standards. On the issue of immigration, when I was growing up, in the 1970s, 80s, especially the 70s, when oil was booming, people went to America, studied in the US, and returned to Nigeria. They did not stay, because then a graduate, as we call them, that's what we call them, graduates, after your youth corps, you're almost entitled automatically to a job, a car loan, and a housing allowance. So if you're 24, 25, getting out of school, having done your youth corps and you have a job, a car, and a flat, what are you going to America to do? So it's a failure of leadership that turned Nigerians, got Nigerians overwhelming, swarming to different countries of the world, not just to acquire, just to go and acquire education, but just to settle permanently. So the problem is on us. We have to solve our problems. For a long time, Nigerians were too docile, but thank God Almighty for the EndSARS protest. It was an eye-opener, and I hope that it continues. Nigerians will continue to protest more and more and more until our leaders become receptive to our legitimate aspirations.
Mazi, I think on the issue of the American support to Nigeria on the fight against terrorism, there are a lot of legs to that story. It's not, I don't know where you read this about Nigerians not the human rights issues that they have and the rest of it. I don't know where you read it. I think the key issue at that time is that there was the Obama's government pressure on Goodluck Jonathan, sorry, on Goodluck Jonathan as at that time to sign a grey law into a grey bill into law. There was a lot of pressure on that time. And again, when that stopped, when the man did not sign, there was everyone was let loose in America. They didn't want to come. That's why they refused to come here. Wait now, Martin, wait. That is your own. I don't know where you read that a Nigerian army were not. They didn't want to be accountable. They didn't want to. They were abusing human rights. They were abusing Nigerians. I don't know where you saw that. Where they were abusing Nigerians. What the Nigerian soldiers, in fact, as at that time, because Nigerian soldiers were so they abide to the rule of human rights. They didn't even at that point. They didn't even try to apply maximum force on Boko Haram. That was why they were invading, coming to Abuja at that time. They went to Niger State and bombed a Catholic church and the rest. They went to Abuja and did all of those things. For a country as big as US, even if you don't want, even if you don't align with the government, what are you supposed to do? Is it the Syria government that called the United States government to go to Syria? Is it not? Because they are over there of their interest. They have interest. So American government has never helped Nigerian government and Nigerian people in any way, apart from the immigration, apart from the Democrat coming in and opening their doors. Because at the end of the day, see, the best doctors in the world are Nigerians in America. The best engineers are Nigerians. The one was speaking this morning on television, a professor, Patient Obama, this morning, is a lecturer, professor in university in Arizona. Those are the brains that they need. That is why they open their doors for you. And that is why you see brain drain here in this country. So they are not helping you. They are not helping this country. So if the other countries shut their doors, we will stay here and build this country. If we continue to migrate from Nigeria to other countries, this country will still remain like this. We will see how those who have never been to school becoming president, those who have never been to school becoming governor, those who do not know how to separate one from two becoming our legislator. That is the reason. Because if all of us, the brainy people are here, those people who have solutions for these problems are in this country, they will fight to get there. The listing, Mazi, now is that as you are now, since you came back, if this country is hot so much, you will leave.
Thank you.
It's very hot. It's very hot. And I'm still here.
You will leave.